Hi everyone, today is August 8th, 2020. This is the Duel Assessment, your podcast for Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links. My name is GreenRanger. This week, a lot of things going on. We're talking about the KCGT main tournament. All the rulings are out about the tournament that is going to happen in about 3 weeks from now. Exactly 3 weeks from now. Scheduled happened August 29th. So the rules are out. They're subject to change a little, but we'll talk about that. Some esports going on. We'll talk about those tournaments. An emergency nerf. We'll talk about what card got nerfed and the deck. There's a lot of implications because I do play that deck. The Duel Links dev tweet question and answer. We're going to run through that pretty fast because there's not too much to unpack there. It's very interesting stuff though. Leo and Luna's Duel Carnival, 2 new cards there, and I'll tell you how I hate the Duel Carnival. Doug Dimmaduel has Kalin Kessler Aromages based on I Was Quicker Than You. And finally, we're going to finish off the box Infernity Destruction. We'll talk about Weather Painters for Hires and a few Performapals. So, yeah, my week in the Duel World, I got to Legend 1, so Plat 6 and Plat 7 were pretty fast to get through with Witchcrafters. I was playing the balanced version, which is my main version, and I switched over to some Show of Nightmare builds that I've seen win some tournaments. I've been playing versions with Offerings to the Doomed, notably. That's a card that I'm trying to use. Skipping your draw phase is never a great thing, and I've found myself in some holes where I screw myself over. So trying to learn it more than advance in Legends, since it's still early in the month. But things have changed, of course, in that regard, and I'm going to need to figure out a new way to play the deck. I have gotten Kalin Kessler to level 33, so I can't even play Infernities yet. I've been buying some of the Infernity box just to clear out the gems that I have left over. And it seems like it's a pretty cheap deck, frankly, based on the decks I've seen win tournaments. So I guess I'll just have that deck in reserve, build it slowly, and focus on Witchcrafters whenever that changes. So let's go to Esports. Duel Links Mania happened. This is the Duel Links of the Boys podcast tournament. It happened last Saturday. First place Meme Maker Switcheroo invoked Neos. This has pretty much taken over as the main invoked deck now. Element Sabers have fallen off just as I predicted. And, Volcanic Shell works really good with Switcheroo. It's a fire attribute, so you definitely need your Purgatrios. It's not worth playing this deck if you only have one Purgatrio. You need at least 2, I'd say. But anyways, Volcanic Shell tutors itself, pays life points, and that helps towards Switcheroo. There's also the Neos package here, 2 Neos Fusion and Elemental Hero Neos, 3 Keeper of Dragon Magic. I can't even think about playing this deck because I don't have any of these cards. And, like any Invoke deck, you pack it with your best trap cards. Karma Cut's popular, Raigeki Break, Ultimate Providence, Fiendish Chain. This one has all of the pay-to-win cards in it. You typically put in your best trap cards, just like it was in Element Sabers. It's still a control deck. Second place, Zanga Hugo with Switcheroo, Predaplant Invoke Neos. This one just throws in the Predaplant package, which is very minimal. You have 2 of the Chlamydia Sundew. And a little less free to play here. There's 2 Fiendish Chain, but no Karma Cuts, 3 Raigeki Breaks. Raigeki Break, of course, works well with the deck, in that you could discard a card and still use it for your invocation. Up 4, Lima 1100, Show of Nightmares Lightsworn Witchcrafters. A bit of old and new in this deck, which makes it interesting. Kiwi Magician Girl was a long afterthought. It was probably one of the first cards put in Witchcrafter decks, and it hasn't really appeared since, so it's back here. There's a little bit of the new with Offerings to the Doom, just 1 copy here. 2 Storms. There's an interesting thing going on in this deck. There's 2 Shmeta, 3 Patori. And I think that has to be a free-to-play consideration. This guy bought through the box twice, and he only got 2 Shmeta. Normally, you would just do the reverse with 3 Shmeta, 2 Patoria, but this one does the opposite. Sometimes you'll have 3 of both if you can do that. And top 4, Dante KK, level reduction, Black Wings. Level reduction's interesting. They do have 2 copies of Harmattan the Dust, so I'm not really sure how the math works here, but Simoon's a 6. Most of the guys are 4s. 6 and 4 is 10. They're all level 7s though, so I'm not really sure. I don't really know, but yeah, level reduction. Battle phase 82. 83? 83. Bad? Alright. Wait. I think I did 82. I don't know these, hold on, there's too many battle phases going on. And I only wrote the notes for one of them. And there's like 3 battle phases a week. It's kind of getting confusing, guys. Alright. Battle phase 82, first place, Shiny Sophion. Infernity, Inferno, Infernity. That's kind of a clunky name. I just call it Infernity, but this is like an early version of the build. It's probably one of the first decks to place with Infernity. And it's a good thing because it shows that the deck is fairly easy to buy. In that this build has 1 Infernity, Archfiend, and 3 launchers. So basically you just have to buy through the box once. And then a little bit more to get the launcher. If you get lucky in the SR sale or whatever, you get a launcher. That'd be cool. I got like my 4th Barkion or something because I already got it from the selection box. So there goes mine. But it's nice because you have those 4 cards. There's 3 Mirages and Infernity Beetle, and then there's Infernity Barrier from level 40, and that's it. That's 9 cards out of 20 being Infernity. That means you have a ton of flex spots. This is something we saw with Shiranui early on when they had very small cards in the core. So it's kind of, I've been beat by this deck before, not this exact build, but it's a bit of a one-turn kill deck, Infernities. They just keep recycling the monsters over and over again until they got all their synchro plays and they beat you. And the Hey Truenates here also prove a point, but there's a little bit. It's one turn kill, but then there's a little bit of stall. In Sophion's deck, there's 2 Fiendish Chain, 3 Paleozoic, 2 Bad Aim, so a lot of trap cards there. The deck that beat me had all of those Winged Kribos and the Flute of Summoning Kribos and things like that. So there's a bit of a stall component, but then there's a quick, once they have their pieces, they will just kill you type mentality here. This deck also runs Heat Wave, so prevents some of their plays for the next turn, I guess. That's kind of what it does. And then the Synchro package is mostly like level 6s, I've noticed. Brionic, Coral Dragon, Stardust Charge, White Aura. There's Battle Wasp Hama, the Conquering Bow here, which is pretty good for one-turn kills. Things like that. There's no one defined build right now, but it's a good thing that they only need 1 Archfiend and 3 launchers, and then the rest of them are free cards. Second place, Knee DX Shadow Game Yosenju's. Very typical Yosenju deck. Plenty of stall. It's kind of the same thing with the Infernities. I'm thinking they have some stall and then they burst you down quickly. Top 4 Hyper Dive 411 level duplication Shiranui. Very typical deck. They've survived the nerfs just fine. 2-1 split Spectral Sword on Cosmic Cyclone. Nothing much to say there. And top 4 Hexy, Show of Nightmares, Lightsworn, Witchcrafter. 29 card deck, interesting there. It doesn't run any limit 2 cards, it's interesting. No Econ, no Machine Angel Ritual. More consistency on the Witchcrafter spells, and 3 copies of Storm, of course. Last tournament, Meta Weekly, Duel Links Meta Weekly 136. First place, Buns, Show of Nightmares Lightsworn Witchcrafter. Let's see what we got here. 2 enemy controller, 3 Storm, 3 Holiday, of course. Not of course, but 3 Holiday. 3 Shmeta, 3 Patori. This has become the standard build, and it's why really the deck got nerfed. There is a Mistaken Arrest in the side deck, so that's another possibility for the deck. Galaxy Cyclone, Offerings to the Doomed. Galaxy Cyclone works well as a graveyard card. Second place, Fake Zik Switcheroo. Masked Hero. Masked Hero's off the competitive list for now. This one kind of goes differently. It has a Polymerization Fusion Substitute in addition to the regular Mass Change. Top 4, Frieza, Switcheroo, Invoked Neos. Not much to say there. These decks pretty much look the same. And top 4, Tito, VQ 96 level, Augmentation, Shiranui. This is the Needle Sealing build. We haven't seen this one in a while. Not much to say there. Alright, tier list update from Duel Links Meta. Blackwings have moved up to tier 1, so we have Blackwings and Witchcrafters. I assume after the Witchcrafter Nerf, there's going to be... Blackwings might be sold tier 1 again, I'm not really sure. But, yeah. There you go. Tier 2 has unchanged. I guess Blackwings moved up, but Invoked Neos, Blue Eyes, and Shiranui. Tier 3, we have the demotion of Element Sabers. Finally, this is something we've seen coming for quite a bit of time. Gookies have been moved up from out of nowhere. I think they're like a tier 4 deck. Crystron's Dark Magicians, Ritual Beasts are still in tier 3. We have 2 new high potential decks, Infernities and the Weather Painters, and Masked Heroes have been dumped off the tier list. Alright, let's talk about the rulings for the KCGT main tournament. These came out just yesterday, and it has specific implications today, because today is August 8th. So they have, the 16 players. They're going to make a website, some kind of profile for each player, so we're going to see who actually made it in a future episode. But right now we don't know, because I think some people got disqualified for different reasons. So they made this clarification on the rules. Duels may end in draws, but the winner of the match will always be decided. What does that mean? Well, there's 3 duels in a match. You always play best of 3. It's kind of like a Yu-Gi-Oh rule. So you could draw. Draws are really rare in Yu-Gi-Oh, I think. But you could draw, and then you win the next 2. You won the match, right? You could draw 2. Whoever wins the last one wins the duel and wins the match. So if you draw all 3 duels, I'm not sure what happens. Do they flip a coin? Do they keep playing till they win? Maybe. I think they keep playing till they win. But they say there's no draws in a match. There's a draw in a duel, but no draw in a match, if that makes any sense. You must play 3 decks. Okay, that's the next rule. Standard deck size, 20 to 30 cards, and then extra decks are 6 or less. So you're not bound to 6 cards. You could have 0 if you want. You're playing Monarchs. Each deck has a different legendary duelist with a different skill. So you're picking 3 different legendary duelists, 3 different skills. You can play a generic skill, but then the other guy can't play a generic skill. The other duelist cannot be using the same generic skill. So there you go. This is the big one here. 3 copies of the same card across their decks. So all 3 decks, you can't run the same cards. No econ in each deck, if that makes any sense. You can have an econ in 2, but it's only 1 of each. I guess this hits those really good trap cards, the Karma Cuts, the Venus Chains, and I actually really like this rule because it allows the lesser cards to play. Mirror Wall could come back, Wall of D could come back. any of these lesser trap cards and spell cards that were just generically good are going to come back. Sphere Krivo's probably be back in some way. Bacon Saver's going to be there. Kite Roid's going to be there. So it depends. And I guess I forgot to say this. The limit rules go on each deck as well. So I think if you use Kite Roid, you can't use the semi-limits in the other ones. So this does have specific implications if you're running like Charge of the Light Brigade and Cosmic Cyclone. I don't think those cards can be used across all three decks. Here's another big rule. Cards, characters, and skills added after August 8th, 2020 cannot be used. Today is August 8th, 2020. So these dual Carnival cards you can use. And, I mean, it's not like you're crazy and you're going to use these dual Carnival cards, but these are legal because they came out technically before August 8th, 2020. But the cards from DD Castle Siege, which we're going to get in a few days, you can't use those cards. Any cards from Aigami that we're going to get, we can't use those cards. Kalin Kessler's legal though, so because he was last week, so any of Kalin Kessler's skills, any cards from this Infernity box are all good. But today is the cutoff date. Today is it. There's nothing released today anyways, but today's the cutoff. Single round elimination tournament in the top 16. Okay, we kind of get that. They're playing a match, those 3 duels. Each round is 1 match, best 2 out of 3, of course. And this is another big rule. Duelists cannot use the deck they used in the duel for the rest of the match. You see different tournament things about the winner can't use the deck. This one, no one can use the deck, so you're going to have to play all 3 decks unless you get knocked out in the first top 2. If you lose the first 2, you're not going to play the third. But every duel is going to be a different deck, so even the loser can't use their deck anymore. That's a pretty big rule. So that is it for the KCGT. We're going to know who made it. I mean, we know who made it already, but we're going to get confirmation about, people getting disqualified or whatever. But, I mean, we'll never know why people got disqualified, but, not everyone in the top 16 made it. There's a lot of people in that 4-2 cut in that preliminary situation set that are going to make it. Alright. Emergency Lightsworn Witchcrafter Nerf. This goes live August 20. It came out as a shock yesterday, frankly. I was shocked. And as a Witchcrafter player, this directly hits my team, so I am shocked. The one change in this whole nerf, it's really rare that they put one card on, but 1 card nerf of Witchcrafter Holiday being put on limit 3. And clearly this is Lightsworn Witchcrafters, which has become the only way to play Witchcrafters. We're not playing Type 0 Magic Crusher Burn anymore, but so Charge of the Light Brigade and Witchcrafter Holiday are on the same limit 3. And it's the most powerful spell to mill for the deck, so Charge of the Light Brigade's important. Holiday's important. It's the best Witchcrafter spell, and it works really well because everything's getting dumped into the graveyard, and Holiday resurrects from the graveyards. That's why that happened. I can't see a situation where you split this 3 cards to 0 in any way. I cannot see you running 3 Holidays and 0 Charge of the Light Brigade, or I cannot see 3 Charge of the Light Brigade and 0 Holiday. Both situations are kind of crazy. First of all, 3 Charge of the Light Brigade is stupid because you don't even use the 3rd Charge of the Light Brigade. Usually you only have 2, which you have 2 Lightsworn cards in your deck, so the last one just becomes an extra hand ammunition, if you will, for Madame Vere. And then 3 Holidays and no Charge of the Light Brigade. I can't see the deck not tutoring a Lightsworn, if that makes any sense. It just works so well with the deck. And then it's a disposal too. So I'm going to see, I totally expect a 1-2 or 2-1 split in some way. Now, let's say you go with 1 charge of the Light Brigade and 2 holidays. I think this is my number one. Like I would prefer that. There has to be a card to help you mill, and Monster Gate is typically the card that they use to extra mill sometimes. You haven't seen it a ton, but it does mill a good number of cards. And having 1 charge of the Light Brigade should not affect the number of Lightsworn monsters you run. You shouldn't just like, oh, I'm going to cut down all my Lightsworn cards, because you're still going to pick between which one you use, and that's kind of the menu about what you're doing. If you want to go into synchro play, you'll pick Minerva. If you want to knock out a back row, you can use Lila or something like that. Or you could just go back to Raiden and Minerva and pick between those two. Hopefully you'll have something to cover for Lila, like more storms or something. So you should still run your Lightsworns with the reduced number of charge of the Light Brigade. They still help you mill. They still are a synchro. They are tuners for your synchro menu, so I would not cut down on my Lightsworns. Minerva probably still sticks as an automatic card for the deck. Lila, I'm not too sure about Lila, but Raiden could come back. Alright, let's say you go 2 charge of the Light Brigade and 1 holiday. There's going to be a lot of ways to... You're going to need some ways to recycle holiday. I think Witchcrafter Patroness probably becomes a core card, because you can recycle your banished spells. So you use holiday, and then you also use Genie to banish holiday. You activate Patroness, and then you can just recycle it back into your deck. So that's one way. Patroness probably becomes a core card, no matter what. And Witchcrafter Genie becomes more important for graveyard consistency, so you're going to run 2 Genies, I think. But at the same time, Genie gets worse. Like, with the reduced number of holidays, there's going to be less of a chance of Genie and Holiday being in the graveyard at the same time. I don't think you're going to go overboard and run 3 Genies, but she becomes more important and less consistent at the same time. So that's what the consistency nerf hits at. You could say, this is barely a nerf to Witchcrafters, but there's a whole chain reaction about how you build the deck, and Genie is a card that's affected directly by this. Perhaps Genie into Unveiling becomes a bigger play. Let's say you've got your Madame Veres and your Edels in your hand. You're going to run your Unveilings. You're going to rely on that Unveiling play more often. I don't really like the Unveiling play, frankly. And then other spells. So with this limit 3, there's going to be 2 more cards. There's space for 2 more cards in the deck, because you're going to run 3 of those. And wait, there's 3 more cards. Yeah. Excuse me, there's 3 more cards in the deck. It goes from 6 slots to 3 slots. So Offerings to the Doomed is more important as a result. Storm is more important as a result. Those cards can be added for more consistency. If you're running 3 Storms, I don't think you need to run Lila, because that's kind of enough things to hit the back row. Offerings to the Doomed, it's a removal. Forbidden Lance, Spellbook of Wisdom, those kind of fall into the same book about protecting your monsters from effects, from spell effects. So those are possible cards. They kind of help Madame Veres survive as well, so they can be used. Forbidden Lance, of course, can be used on your opponent to prevent certain plays, like Invoked, for example. So those 2 cards are in consideration. Nightbeam, Fire Formation, Gyaku are other cards that hit the back row. Pretty solid cards on their own. They could be used. So in terms of the duel skill, Show of Nightmares should still be the front runner. If you're reducing the number of charge of the Light Brigade or Holiday, and you have not that many spells in the graveyard, you can increase your chances of getting it back. So Show of Nightmares should still be the front running skill. But because this nerf gives 3 extra slots to the deck, Balanced Witchcrafters could have an opening here. And normally you would just run a couple of trap cards, the Masterpiece, or the Patroness, but this 3 slots can let you run your traps. Raigeki Break is a very common trap card that balanced Witchcrafter decks run, but if you're running Raigeki Break, you might as well run Karma Cut if you have it, Ultimate Providence, or Divine Wrath, things like that. So things that discard into the graveyard to negate effects and destroy. Pretty good abilities. You could also run Cursed Seal of the Forbidden Spell, Chain Disappearance, Typhoon. You could put like your best trap cards, and then you put your tech trap cards, if that makes any sense. So overall, this nerf hits at the consistency of Lightsworn Witchcrafters. I think I'm going to spend some time building Witchcrafter so I could play it the new way. There's no point in playing it this way as an OP deck and hitting King of Games too early. So I'm going to try to build a new Witchcrafter deck, struggle through Legend ranks a little bit so I could learn it. Or maybe I could just wait till like 820 so I could hit King of Games with a real deck. But yeah, this is a big nerf just for one card. Yeah, it's not nothing. It's a big nerf. Alright, let's talk about the Duel Links dev tweet, question and answer. Duel Links dev, he's not a dev member, but he's part of the communications team, Progrise. He sent out a tweet a couple weeks ago asking if anyone had any questions, so let me see if I have the tweet here. If you guys have any questions for the Duel Links dev team, leave a comment and we might answer them. So these things are really rare from Konami, and I jumped at the chance to look at it. I actually got my question answered, which was crazy because he didn't answer too many questions. So let's go through them. So and a bunch of the answers were non-answers. He was like, I like this question. It didn't really answer the question. So my question was, will there be more transparency for balance changes and why they are made? It's kind of like why did Witchcrafters get nerfed so fast? And he said, balance changes usually come when there's a unanimous amount of feedback across all global communities. So this is interesting because I was under the impression that it was all kind of like Konami's running numbers about win percentages and usage rates on cards and archetypes and things like that. But this tweet makes it sound like there's feedback across all global communities. There's in-game surveys, I guess. There's people complaining on message boards. And so it seems like he's saying that the Konami team values feedback more than anything, than their own decisions. I'm sure there's some validity to their own decisions, because Dark Magician would have been nerfed a long time ago. If they were just listening to feedback, it would have been nerfed in a week. But it makes it seem like they're listening to everyone. And of course, it's all global communities, because Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a worldwide game. So if you're stuck in the American scene and you're seeing American people complain about Duel Links, or seeing Brazilian people complain or Japanese people complain, he's saying they value feedback from all global communities. So everyone has to be complaining at once for something to get nerfed, I guess. Brendan Parker asked, what will happen with coins in-game? And Progrise says, coins have been a topic of discussion for quite some time, but definitely worth mentioning again at some point. So this is close to a non-answer, but everyone is aware that coins are a problem. Hopefully something is done about coins, because they are pretty bad and useless. Pretty useless currency, and like I played a lot of card games, and coins in Duel Links are like trash tier currency. There's like, I can't think of a currency that's worse than coins. It's Bradaz HD asked, he put this whole thing out, so there's a lot of questions in Brad's tweet, but he asked about content creator and streamer benefits, like people unveiling cards or things like that. You know, like Hearthstone always had like a card reveal season where streamers would unveil the card. Progrise says, community decided content would be awesome. I'm a big advocate of it. Definitely a good idea. I guess community decide content's like what? what's like the new event, I guess, or what characters come into the game. A lot of people asked about characters. Let's see. Nihim Nim says, do you feel power creep is a prevalent problem in the game? It seems with every new set, old strategies can tend to easily become obsolete. Do you plan on releasing more legacy support like the additional spellbook support released recently? Progress says, speaking anecdotally, power creep has been an inherent nature of the evolution of any game, whether it be Yu-Gi-Oh! Or any video game. Although I would love to see more legacy support, Dragon Rulers have been an obvious favorite of mine. Yeah, this is not really a Yu-Gi-Oh! Issue, it's like any game issue, and you need power creep to not be stale. Like, I know he answered the question, and I get it. Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG, no one's like playing vanilla monsters and tributes double summoning into one tribute monster or something, right? So we needed to advance the game, I guess. Alec Noer says, are you planning to support some streamers to do competitive tournaments with goodies to win? Duel Links Meta is a perfect streamer to sponsor, for example. Progrise says, some streamers have already been partnered with, like Sleepy Gibbs and Guns Blazing. Sleepy Gibbs is Yumi Bakura. Duel Links Meta isn't out of the question either. It's just a matter of hashing things out. This is a very interesting tweet because I believe Yumi Bakura and Guns Blazing don't play Yu-Gi-Oh! At all anymore. Like, they don't play Duel Links. They're former players, but they're not playing anymore. So that means Konami sponsors nobody. I know Konami doesn't give them money or whatever, but there's no one sponsored, and that kind of sucks because there's a lot of good Duel Links players out there, and they're just doing it for nothing. Like, they're doing their own tournaments. There's no fostering of streamers in Konami. And Duel Links Meta, like Decade and Gia are with Fade to Karma already, so they're already self-affiliated with a esports team, and that's how they make money. But I guess Konami has negotiated with Decade, but they haven't really. They're hashing things out. But I guess Fade to Karma had a better offer, maybe. Pyle Allen said, could we play as Kaiba Man? That'd be fun. Progress says card is too OP. We already have Kaiba Man. We don't have Kaiba Man as a character. I think that's what Pyle Allen was talking about. Finally, this is like a sticking point tweet. This is kind of like the tweet that encapsulates the whole conversation. Tom Azod says, there is a ton of people who would love to talk with the development team, as there is no way of contacting them besides the in-game survey. I would like to ask the dev team if there is a possibility for anime exclusive characters to join DM World. That's kind of like the first part is what I'm talking about. This tweet came out of the blue to ask questions, and there's no way to communicate with them. So this guy's the only link we have. And then he's asking about characters. A lot of people asked about characters. I don't really care about characters, but I guess they collected all the feedback about who they want and things like that. I'm not sure if everyone even asked for Agami. Like, they're just trying to promote that movie, but I'm sure there's like a million more characters that are more popular than Agami, but Okay, so that's it for the Duel Links dev question and answer. Let's talk about the Duel Carnival. 2 new cards here, and I'm going to say this right now. I hate the Duel Carnival. I want this event to be retired. It forces you to play PvP light, and you have to, it takes a lot of time. You can't play it on the subway because you get disconnected all the time. If it's a PvP event, it should be fun and a new rule. You're just playing regular ranked. It's not like they're all the meta decks, so it's not exactly the same, but 70% of people are playing meta decks, and then everyone else is playing some gold or plat rank deck. Like tier 4 deck, Yubel deck or something. Like who wants to play against a Yubel deck? But I think if Konami is listening, I think if you're doing a PvP event, you should have completely different rules. Like, they're giving like a little field power bonus to fiends or to fairies right now. Make a whole different rule. I loved those character duels. Those when there was a whole laddering system, like a duels King of Games or something. That would have been cool. But this is just the same duels with a little field power bonus, and no one's even running that type, right? So time consuming, and I've barely gotten any points. Like, I don't even know if I'm going to get through this event. I want the gems, but I don't know if I'm going to get through it. The 2 new cards are kind of OG. Let's talk about them. Hayabusa Knight, level 3, Warrior, 1,700. This card can make a second attack during each battle phase. So both these cards are famous for one thing. This is the first card to attack twice. The first card in Yu-Gi-Oh, I think. Like, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it is. It was pretty good when you threw in like a lot of equip spells with it. So you could do like Axe of Fools or Power of the Guardians. Power of the Guardians can trigger twice. That's a nice card with this one. Because it's just a 1,000 attacker, so it doesn't really do much. And it's pretty useless now. You just got to throw in all those equip spells to make it do anything. So that's that. Total Defense Shogun, level 6 Dark Warrior, 1550, 2500. This card's changed to defense when it is normal summoned or flip summoned successfully. This card can attack while it's in defense. If this card attacks while in defense, apply the attack of this card for damage calculation. So I believe this is also the first card to be able to attack while in defense. The most famous card we have in Duel Links is Coxidus. So Invoke Coxidus just does it better. I believe Coxidus is like a 1800, 2900. And then you're going to get a buff with Alistair and also the field spell or whatever. If you're running Element Sabers, you don't have to run Element Sabers. But yeah, Total Defense Shogun is just another Legacy OG card. It would be nice with that Spike Shield Chain card. Spike Shield with Chain. Something like Concentrating Current makes it pretty good too. Be 4,000 attack. Yeah, anything that made Coxus pretty good, Total Defense Shogun works with as well. That is it for the Duel Carnival cards. Alright, Doug Dimmaduel is here. He has Kalin Aromages. This is an idea that was floated on about his I was quicker than you skill, where whoever gets to go first will get an automatic boost of 2,000 life points. And that just jives very well with Aromages. And Doug explains why, even if you lose the coin flip, it's not the worst outcome either. So here is Doug's casual deck of the week with Kalin Aromages.
Hey there, this is Doug Dimmaduel with Doug's Casual Deck of the Week. So this week I'm going with an aroma deck that utilizes Kalin's new skill, the new Kalin that we were able to unlock, that's called I Was Quicker Than You. Alright, at the beginning of the duel, recover the starting player's life points by 2,000. Usually with an aroma deck, you want to have the higher life points. But with this one, you're not keeping that consistency with the skill, because whoever has the coin toss and goes first gets the extra 2,000 life points. So the reason why this skill is beneficial, whether you start with the extra life points or not, is because of the one continuous spell card, Aroma Gardening. It has positive effects whether or not you have more life points or not than your opponent. But what really matters, why this card comes in clutch, is because when you have less life points than your opponent, you're able to special summon an aroma monster from your deck, which is great. So, really the card is, if you normal or special summon an aroma monster, except during the damage step, you can gain 1,000 life points. While an opponent's monster declares an attack, while your life points are lower than your opponent's, you can special summon one aroma monster from your deck. So, really your whole goal is to hopefully open with this card if you're starting with fewer life points than your opponent. It's not very consistent, which is why this is more of a casual deck. But I like to run my one copy of Aroma Garden, which is the field spell, where if you control an aroma monster, you gain 500 life points, and also all monsters you control gain 500 attack and defense until your opponent's next turn. Also, if a face-up aroma monster you control is destroyed by battle or card effect and sent to the graveyard, you gain 1,000 life points. For good measure, I run my 2 copies of Blessed Winds and 2 copies of Humid Winds, where Humid Winds you can pay 1,000 life points to add an aroma monster from your deck to your hand. If your life points are lower than your opponent's, you can gain 500 life points. That comes in handy too if your opponent has the 2,000 life point boost. You guys aren't going to have the exact same amount of life points, so you can still get that secondary effect from Humid Winds. And maybe if you have an Aromage Rosemary on the field, or even your Aromage Kananga on the field, you're able to suddenly boost your life points by 500 and trigger one of their effects, which is great. Blessed Winds, again, you can send an aroma monster from your hand or field to gain 500 life points. You could shuffle an aroma monster back into the deck to gain 500 life points, or my favorite part of the effect, pay 1,000 to special summon one from the graveyard to the field, which is phenomenal. So as far as monsters go, I want to make sure that my Aromage Rosemary, because of its ability to change the position of a face-up monster, is one of the cards that I try to have and really start messing with your opponent by triggering some of these effects during your opponent's turn and switching your opponent's monsters from attack to defense position, or vice versa. I'll run 1 copy of Aromage Bergamot, which, while your life points are higher than your opponent's, if plant-type monsters attack a defense position monster, you inflict piercing, and also once per turn, if you gain life points, this card does gain 1,000 attack and defense. So this is kind of your, your closer here. This is how you're going to really do some damage. I also like to run Aromage Marjoram, which is a level 5, 2,000 attack. You take no battle damage from attacks involving plant-type monsters as long as your life points are higher than your opponent's. And you could also have one of the other 2 effects here. If you gain life points, target cards in your opponent's graveyard up to the number of aroma monsters you control and banish them. And also, when a plant-type monster you control is destroyed by battle, you can special summon this card from your hand and then gain 500 life points. I'll also run 2 copies of Aromas, Aromaser B Angelica. Jeez, I can't speak today. It's the level 1 tuner where you can send it from your hand to the graveyard to gain life points equal to the attack of the monster that you target in the graveyard. But then also, if your life points are higher than your opponent's, you can then throw this monster back onto the field and get into one of your synchro plays. So my extra deck, it includes the Rosemary, it includes a level 7 Ancient Sacred Wyvern, which is great if you have a whole bunch of life points higher than your opponent. You're able to really, really just crush it. I mean, you could the sky's the limit with the attack of that monster. Then, just for good measure, my Bryonic Dragon of the Ice Barrier, then also Old Entity Hastor, which is a level 4 synchro, and then another level 7 synchro of Samurai Destroyer. So really, depending on the situation, you can get into any of these plays, either a level 4 synchro, level 5 synchro, a level 6, or a level 7 synchro. It's all possible with Angelica as your tuner. Then we have our Aromage Jasmine, which is just, I'll run 3 copies of that one. It just allows you to burn through your deck real quick by drawing. Anytime you gain life points, once per turn, you're able to draw a card off of the effect. And then also, as long as you have life points higher than your opponent's, you're then able to summon another Aroma monster, which is fantastic. And then for good measure, the Kananga, I'll run 2 copies of it because you're able to, whenever you gain life points, send cards, spells and traps back to your opponent's hand, which is a very underrated skill to have with an effect for a monster. So that's basically the monsters that I run for the Aroma deck. This thing is just a lot of fun, but because you're running the I was quicker than you skill, you're guaranteed to not have the same amount of life points as your opponent. And that's really what this deck comes down to, because you're going to have positive effects if you have more life points, obviously. Probably you have more beneficial effects when you start with more life points than your opponent, but also there is some positive impact to immediately have lower life points than your opponent as well, utilizing some of those other effects for aroma gardening and humid winds. So, this is a very good deck that can, help you win on either way, but you can do a lot of shenanigans during your opponent's turn through the effects of your, trap cards and through some of your monster effects. So, yeah, love playing around with this deck, and, from a casual standpoint, this skill from Kalin is just a lot of fun. The I was quicker than you skill. I think it's a level up reward if I remember correctly, so you should all be able to get a copy of this skill. So try it out. Have some fun with it, and I'm sure there are going to be a lot more effective decks that utilize this skill than the one that I just came up with this week. But I thought I'd share this one with you, and just another fun casual deck. So that's it for this week. I will see you next time. Take care.
Alright, thanks, Doug. You can check out Doug Dimmaduel's Casual Deck of the Week every week on this podcast. Check out his Twitter account at Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck Talk for more things. Alright. Talk about finishing up this episode with the new box, Infernity Destruction. Talk about two of the archetypes briefly, and then the Performance Pals just a little bit. Some of the R and N Weather Painter cards. Weather Painter Sun is a level 3. When it's in your graveyard, send a continuous spell or trap you control to the graveyard, special summon it in defense. Then place a weather spell or trap from your hand face up in the spell or trap zone. And then, when this is banished from the field to activate a weather effect, you can special summon this banished card. This is an interesting card. So you pay a face up spell or trap to resurrect this. And then you cheat out a card from the hand. So the main benefit of this is cheating out a trap card. And the main one you would do is Weather Thundery Canvas, because this lets you... This is like the main removal card for the archetype, and it's why the Weather archetype is actually very high potential, because they could just keep bouncing things. They just have so much removal potential with Thundery Canvas and just keep bouncing. So the Sun lets you get it from the hand. It's better if you get it from the deck, but it's good to have multiple options to have it from hand or deck, depending on what you're playing. And then comes back after you banish it, so the monsters you remove for the cost of the hard removal on your opponent gets to get recouped. So that's what's good about them. The Weather Painter Thunder. So this one you can send a continuous spell trap you control to the graveyard, place a weather spell trap from the deck face up in your spell trap zone, and then when it's banished it comes back as well. This one doesn't resurrect from the graveyard automatically, but it tutors the card straight from the deck. So this works like Weather Painter Snow also gets the card from the deck. So, you could use these two cards in conjunction. The Thunder actually has 1700 attack, and the Snow doesn't have any attack. So this one is actually kind of useful in that regard. The Weather Cloudy Canvas. This is a continuous spell. The monsters get those abilities. You can banish this card, target one face-up monster your opponent controls. Have its current attack for the rest of the turn. But it can attack directly. Okay, so this one you do your own monsters. So basically what it is it gives all of your monsters the ability, kind of like Cyber Dark. I think. It's like Masked Hero Anki or the Ninja, Super Heavy Samurai Ninja, where they get to attack directly for half the attack. I don't think this is too useful for the deck because they're going to rely on the hard removal from Thunder and Canvas. So this is a bit of a different gameplay strategy there. The Weather Painter Rain. If it's special summoned, you can play a weather spell or trap from your hand face up. Yeah, this one's not that good. Inferior version of the sun. Because the sun, sun just does it regardless. This one has to be special summoned. Weather Painter Cloud. If this is sent to the graveyard, target 2 weather spells in your graveyard, place them face up. So this is like a late game recovery. You would recycle 2 spells or traps from the graveyard. So that would be nice for the Thundery Canvas if it gets destroyed, but it's kind of moot if everyone's using Cosmic Cyclone and they're banishing it instead of sending it to the graveyard. Weather Sunny Canvas. This is a continuous spell. The monsters, let's see. You can special summon a weather monster from your hand or graveyard. Okay, this is useful if you want to trigger like a special summon effect for certain cards. And Auroral Canvas is a continuous trap. This is the other trap card with Thundery Canvas. When one card is added to one player's hand, you can banish this card, banish the added card. If you do, that player draws 1 card. So this is an interesting disruption mechanic against tutoring effects. So let's say they draw, like Alistair draws Invocation. This would banish Invocation, but then they get to draw a different card. So it disrupts the play. Very interesting card. I don't think it's like a meta relevant card. It could be meta relevant, but could be. I'm not sure if it does enough to the deck, if that makes any sense. Like, I guess it's pretty good. I guess you get to disrupt a tutoring ability. Alright, 3 for hire cards are added here. Philo Messenger for hire. Level 1 Winged Beast 0/0. During your main phase, you can special summon 1 monster for hire from your hand except for Philo. If monster for hire is special summoned to your field while you control this monster, you can target 1 monster for hire in your graveyard, special summon in defense, but place it in the bottom of the deck if it leaves the field. So, this is interesting for potentially doing 2 special summons in a chain. Like, you activate 2 effects in a chain. This seems like it's like a lead-off card. If it's the second monster, it doesn't seem to have an ability. You normal summon it, you have a Fur Hire in hand and 1 in the graveyard, and then you get them both out, and then you could trigger both abilities, if that makes any sense. So if someone's trying to disrupt your play, you could kind of you could stack your Fur Hire abilities so that the first one does not get disrupted and use the second one to take the blow, if that makes any sense. Fur Hires are a bit of an aggro deck, so this one doesn't have any attack or defense, so that kind of hurts it, but it's useful if you want to get like Wiz out of the graveyard or something like that. Helmsman for hire, level 3, Aqua, 0 attack, 2000 defense. During your main phase, you can special summon a monster for hire from your hand, except for Helmer. If a monster for hire is special summoned to the field while you have this monster, you can discard 1 for hire, draw 1. So this is like a cycling card. You could draw 1, discard 1. No attack value at all, again, for the deck that is considered an aggro deck, so you would use this in moderation. Finally, Bravo for hire, level 4. Reptile, 1900, 200. During your main phase, you can special summon a monster for hire from your hand, except for Bravo. If a monster for hire is special summoned to your field while you control this monster, you can have all monsters for hire gain 500 attack and defense until the end of the turn. Okay. So this is the strongest for hire outside of Dyna, so that makes it useful because I think Seal is 1600, Beats 1200, and the rest are even less. So Bravo is 1900, pretty good. You would special summon a monster, they all get 500. This is going to be 2400. Dyna becomes 3000. Wiz gets a defense buff if they're hitting into Wiz. So this looks like it's an important part of for hires. Alright. There's too many performance pals to talk about. I see at least like 20 for hire. 20 performance pal cards, but let's talk about the ones I like. The Swordfish. When it's normal or special summoned monsters, your opponent controls lose 600 attack and defense. And then if you special summon a monster while you have this card, they lose another 600 attack and defense. So this could be like a permanent 1200 attack and defense debuff, which is interesting. The Friend Donkey. When this is normal summoned, you can special summon a level 4 or lower Performa Pal from your hand or graveyard. So this is kind of like your extra deck play. You could do like, I know Performa Pals are a pendulum mechanic, and I can't even tell you what constitutes a pendulum summon. I have no idea. But this could do like I don't think they have any tuners, so this can't really set up a synchro play, but this could set up XCs. You could get another level 3 from hand or graveyard. I like that it's hand or graveyard. And then you could do that rank 3 XCs summon. Flip Hippo is also a combo starter, but I think I like Friend Donkey better. Performa Pal Call. This is a trap card. When your opponent's monster declares a direct attack, target that attacking monster, negate the attack. If you do, add up to 2 Performa Pals from your deck to your hand, whose total defense is less than equal to the attack of the targeted monster. Until the end of your next turn, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck. So there's a big cost to this card. You can't play extra deck for like 2 turns, but it negates an attack, and you get to tutor 2 cards, so it's pretty good if this archetype can stall. Elephant Hammer. Let's see. Performa Pal Elefhammer. Level 6 Beast, 2600, 1800. If you control 2 or more Performa Pal cards, you can normal summon this without tributing. Cannot attack unless you control another Performa Pal card. When this declares an attack, you can return all spells and traps your opponent controls to the hand. Big beater here. Could come out for free, but that's like a 1 tribute 2600, which isn't too bad. It's like a normal. And then it's like Hey Trunade when it's attacking, so that's pretty cool. They kind of go all over the place. That's kind of weird. This archetype, like, it doesn't work because there's too many cards and they go all over the place. Yeah, I think that's it for Performa Pals. I can't really say much about them. Yeah, that's gonna be it. So I am buying a little bit of this box just so I can play Infernities. I want to get my Archfiend. I want to get 3 copies of Launcher maybe, and then I'll have another deck to play. It seems pretty fun to play that deck. So I think that is it. I still haven't even talked about the 2 ranked duels update cards. I think I'll save that for next week. Hopefully we'll have some more news about everything else regarding the KCGT. We should have DD Castle Siege by the next week as well. Alright, so upcoming news, mid-August, DD Castle Siege, new UR card Darkness Destroyer, and SR Cocoon Veil. Duel Quest is also mid-August. Mid-August, Tag Duel Tournament, new UR Star Blast, SR card Sacred Defense Barrier. Late August, Mission Circuit with an old card. Late August, Raid Duel Dimensional Disaster, Endora Doom Volt, new Legendary Duelist Igami. And August 29th, the KCGT. So just mapping it out the week, I guess. DD Castle is going to happen next week. Probably late next week, because this stupid Duel Carnival like takes forever. So then DD Castle is going to be there. Tag Duel Tournament's going to be there. And then the probably going to end by the 29th, though, so the KCGT can happen. Then we'll have new news for September, I guess. So that is it for the podcast. Thank you very much for listening. Please subscribe. Tell any of your friends to subscribe to the podcast. Check out more about on the website, theduelassessment.wordpress.com, or find me on Twitter, duel_assessment, me at GreenRanger CCG. All right? Thanks for listening. I'll see you next time.